Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host KG. Guys, we got a very, very special guest tonight. Tonight, it's just not another wrestling interview. Tonight is about legacy. In professional wrestling, some names echo louder than others. Some names carry history. Some carry championships. Some carry controversy. And some carry responsibility. The name Koloff is not just a name in wrestling. It is a dynasty. It represents an era. It represents an intensity. It represents a belief. It represents standing firm in who you are, even when the world is watching. But tonight, it's not just about legacy. Tonight is about the man who carries it forward. Neal Koloff is more than a last name connected to one of the most powerful figures in wrestling history. He is a man who has chosen to embrace that heritage, not hide from it. He has stepped into expectations most people would run from. He has even taken on responsibility of honoring what came before him while building something meaningful of his own. And what makes this conversation different is this. We are not just talking about matches. We are not just talking about moments in the ring. We are talking about purpose, about faith, about identity, about what it really means to carry a name that already means something. Because behind every legacy is a human being. Behind every entrance theme is a heartbeat. Behind every strong exterior is a story. Neal Koloff represents strength, conviction, and belief, not just in wrestling, in life. And tonight, we are going deeper. We are going beyond the surface, beyond the characters, beyond the history books. Tonight, we talk to the man. Please welcome Neal Koloff. How are you, my friend?
I am great. That is probably one of the greatest intros I have ever had, ever. So I truly thank you for that. Thank you for having me right here on the Get Your Bell Rung podcast. This is awesome. I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Man, I really, really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to come on because I know right now, man, you guys are so busy. I mean, you guys are doing the grinding right now, big time.
Yeah, we are. We're grinding away. And the funny thing is like once we started this, man, like I was in the middle. I also officiate high school and college wrestling, like here in South Carolina. Me growing up, I was a two-time state champion wrestler, and I was a two-time national qualifier. And so for me, like it's always been in my blood, but like once I'm in the season, it's like I tell my wife, like the second the wrestling season starts, I'm like, I'll see you next month.
Right.
And then she understands, but she also knows that like it's very, very beneficial for my family. And then once the Koloff tour was taking place, I was talking to her about it. I was like, this is gonna be big. And I didn't realize how big it was gonna get, but it's really taken off, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it.
Well, I mean, look, you didn't just step into the next level of professional wrestling. You took on carrying a world within itself, and we're going to get there. When people hear the last name Koloff, they immediately think of legacy. What does that mean to you personally? Not when the cameras are on, but when the cameras are off. Well, Neal, you there? Hey, Neal. Testing. You there, brother? Guys, sorry, we have some technical difficulties. Neal, are you there?
Man, I'll tell you the character of the Koloff name, the family, the Koloff name. I will in just a second, buddy. Obviously, you can see my son. He's wanting dad's attention right now. No, you could. The name, the Koloff name itself. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear you now. You're lagging really bad.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Now I can. Now I can.
All right. Now you can. You got me. Okay.
Yep. We got you.
Good
now.
deal.
Yep.
Sorry about that. So,
nope, you're good.
So the Koloff name, is just. It means the absolute world. And the reason why is because, like, growing up, I grew up in the Mid-Atlantic territory. Once I grew up in the Mid-Atlantic territory, growing up like with the names of like Nature Boy Ric Flair, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, the Four Horsemen, the Road Warriors. You can go on and on and on. The name Koloff is very synonymous with that. And I just remember back when I was growing up and we went to the old Greenville Memorial Auditorium. My father used to take me there, the old brown box, as they used to call it, but it was also named the house that Flair built
Mhm.
back in the day. And once I went there for my very first match, one of the matches that was there, like I remember the card. I've said it on many podcasts. Excuse me, but the one of the matches that was on the very first card that I went to was Magnum TA defending the United States Heavyweight Championship against the Russian Nightmare Nikita Koloff with Ivan in his corner. And so when I did that, hang on just a second, I'm on the phone, buddy. Um, I know, buddy. He's 7 years old, and he
Hey,
go
man.
figure. But yeah, once I saw that, like most of the people, they were very scared of Nikita. They were
Mhm.
very angry, with Ivan and Nikita. But at the same time, it was one of those where when I saw it, I was mesmerized. Like I couldn't take my eyes off either one of them. And it was from the moves they did to how they carried themselves as professionals to how they carried themselves in the ring. It was just a true like art. And that's the best way I can say it was art. And then years later, getting to know Nikita like I did, and knowing Ivan as well, but really knowing Nikita like I knew him, it was just a true treat because he's been there for me in more ways than some family has been there for
Mhm.
me. And nothing against my family. I have a wonderful family, both sides of the spectrum, but on my mom's side and on my dad's side. But he's been there with me through some good times. He's been there with me through some tough times personally. And the one thing about him is that he's always been a man of faith.
Mhm.
And that's something that he has taught me as a mentor, has taught me. And so to sum it up into words like what that truly means to be a Koloff, the only word I can say is honor. It is a true honor to be able to carry on this legacy, and I can only hope that that I can at least compare just a little bit to both Ivan and Nikita on that.
Well, and that actually leads me perfectly to my next question. As much as it is an honor to carry forward the Koloff last name, was there a point in the beginning that you're like, man, this is much heavier than I thought that I was getting myself, involved with?
Yeah, at the very beginning it was, and but it was also one of those things for me. I'm always up for a challenge, and no matter if I am in front of 100 people or whether I'm in front of thousands of people, I'm always up for the challenge. And yeah, there does come a time where that name call, especially with Nikita, like being right there as a mentor and being right there by your side. I mean, he's going to push you. He's going to push you to your limits, and not in a bad way,
Right.
but he is going to see how long you can how much you can carry it. Is this up for you? Is this good for you personally? And plus, like Nikita wouldn't put his stamp of approval on anyone unless he absolutely believed that they could carry that name, which is also why it's a true honor to be able to do that.
Right. Now, I was able to meet Nikita last year at Fan Fest, and the man has a presence about him. And this isn't a
Yes, he
guy that
does.
was trying to be intimidating, nothing, just normal conversation, him and I, right? And I told my wife, I went, my God, this guy has this presence. Talk to me about that because it can't be easy, especially when he's first training you, right? To be that guy because again, a presence is normal conversation, much as being a mentor.
Well, you got to also think too, like back in the 80s, like people were scared of him. He was like, he was just 285 pounds, 6% body fat. like they had said, fresh off the boat with Uncle Ivan, and he was just he could talk the. And so once that happened, like I don't know if many people realize it, but like he was up for the character in Rocky Four as
Mm.
Ivan Drago, and so a lot of the people, um, he was up for that character, and once he was up for that character, he uh, he embraced that to the utmost that he could take it to, and when he embraced that, like what's the best way I could put this? Like no other person other than Dolph Lundgren
Mm.
could have done that character other than Nikita. And
Right.
the thing was with him, he was so big for that character that like they told him like when they had the face off with him and Stallone loved it. Like he loved that intense look of Nikita because I mean he was in character
Right.
the whole time. But whenever he did that, they were like, we lost you in his shadow because Nikita was so big then.
Right.
Then years later, getting to meet the man himself. Like if anyone could have really given Hulk Hogan at that time a run for his money, and really taken if Vince would have picked him up, there's no telling where it would have gone. But at the
Right.
same time, look at the career he had.
Right.
And also, it's a true honor that somebody with the caliber of Nikita Koloff handpicked me to carry on that legacy. So
Right.
imagine like the pressure that's on. I kind of take it in the exact same thing as like if say Charlotte Flair or Natalia or any name any second generation or third generation talent that is going to go out there and basically carry it to that next level. I mean, there's very few and far between. You have Randy Orton, who has
Mhm.
obviously exceeded it
Right.
to the gills, but I mean, just how many second or third generation talents have really taken it to that next level? I mean, I could probably count on one hand.
Right.
And so, for me, it's like I know I got to put in the double time really at this point to really get to that next level. And so, but to have him right there by my side, I mean, most of the people are like, "What's it like? What's it like? What's it like?" And I'm like, "Intense,
Yeah.
intense."
I
That's
feel
the best way you can put it.
right. Our friend Jay Eagle, the great Jay Eagle, I love Jay. He says Jay Eagle is Neil's daddy.
Oh God, yeah,
And,
brother, there he is, brother.
and
If you
Wilson
never,
Bellinger says, I did not know about Rocky Four. You know, Nikita Koloff's career went in such a different direction than I think people would have known. And unfortunately, it came at, after the great Magnum TA, who I've had this podcast, after his, unfortunate career injury that he had. My question for you is, would they, and I know this is all about what ifs, what type of career do you think the Koloff's name would have had if Nikita would have become that massive baby face? And who do you think Neil Koloff would be right now if it wasn't for that massive babyface turn after that?
you know what? So many people like look and they just remember the iconic babyface turn for Nikita
Mhm.
because Tony Schiavone said it best in the arena that night when he did turn babyface. His ears were ringing so much from the fans cheering so loud he couldn't hear himself think. And so which was a huge moment for Nikita during that time because he's going with the biggest baby face at that time, in
Right.
the Crockett's being the American Dream Dusty Rhodes to take on Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. Um, Me personally, I liked Nikita better as a heel because he
Right.
was he was so menacing.
Yes.
And when he came back in '91 and was starting to feud with Luger for the U.S. title, I felt he was back to his roots
Mhm.
at that point. Now, don't get me wrong, his babyface run, iconic. you
Right.
know, truly iconic, and nobody can top that, really. I mean, there's people that probably could argue that, but at the
Mhm.
same time, like, he had one of the most iconic runs
Right.
of all time, as and probably one of the most dominant characters also. But to answer your question, where would that have taken it? I mean, at this point, like I said, like, if he had went with Vince and went to the WWFE, whatever, like, I think you would have seen a whole new different realm
Mhm.
happening. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing, because like I said, he has, or has had, a monumental career, Hall of Fame worthy.
Right.
And that's something that, in terms of what ifs, like, I mean, there's no telling. There's no telling. It's kind of hard to answer that
Right.
question, because
Right.
he had such an iconic career, and I'm very thankful, for the fact of what he has given me. That I could never repay him,
Right.
for that, for this honor that he has given me. Um, However, if he would have went with Vince, there's no telling what would have happened. There's no telling what would have happened.
Here's an easy question for you to answer. What part of the Koloff legacy do you feel responsible for protecting?
All of it, all of it, because you got to think about it like this. Ivan, he was the man that beat Bruno in the Garden for the
Mhm.
WWF title. So he's the third ever WWE champion. That legacy, just that alone, carries so much weight. And then you bring in the Nightmare, Nikita, who, you know, multiple time United States champion, multiple time television champion, multiple time world tag team champion, world six-man tag team champion. I mean, it's important to be able to really engage
Right.
with that. And I feel that this go around now, with how this is going, and even Vladimir, let's not take any credit off
Oh, yep.
Vladimir. I mean, Vladimir, he was brought in by Ivan.
Yep.
And not only that, but wrestled in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, the original ECW. I don't know if many people know it, but he was actually the one that, Tito Santana, for the very first ECW title, uh, Tito
Yep.
faced Vladimir for it.
Yep.
And not only that, but Vladimir's amateur wrestling accolades are far greater than mine. And not only that, but he was also an IWA world champion. So Vladimir's got the clout as well.
Oh yeah.
And so, and he doesn't get a lot of the credit that he deserves too, from a lot of people.
Right.
And so that's why it's actually a true honor for all of us to be able to get together for this, and to be able to celebrate the life of Ivan. So to carry on that legacy, very
Yep.
important to me.
Yep. And you are so right about Vladimir. I mean, I think out of all the Koloffs, he is the most underrated because he was so daggone good. You want to talk about a guy who had a good build, a monster in his own right, if you will, is absolutely him. I'm actually working to have him on the podcast as well, which would be such an honor because, I mean, again, this isn't you guys, aren't just guys that decided that you wanted it to be Koloff. You guys were handpicked. And that says a lot about how good you are and what Nikita and Ivan thought about you all. I want to talk about you, the man. What is something that fans would be surprised to learn about Neal Koloff?
I am a homebody. I am a homebody. Obviously, I'm home with my son, my wife. She's on a work trip right now. I didn't tell my son that. But so, yeah, I'm very much a homebody, especially since becoming a father
Right,
to my son. My family is the most important thing to me. Um, I'm a major movie buff, which my son's starting to become one as well. So I'm like really loving that. Big sports buff. I love, and I'm not talking about Buff Bagwell, yo.
right.
Um, but Buff's one of my buddies. Like, he'll love that. But big sports buff. Love my football. Love my amateur wrestling. Love my UFC. Love my boxing. Just watched the Tyson Fury fight for the other night, which was awesome.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua fight
Yep.
soon. So go figure on that one. I think my radar is going towards Joshua on that one. So, but we'll have to see.
Right.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is I'm a homebody. I'm a homebody. Love to be at home with my son. I got two cats, two dogs. So I'm a fur baby dad, and I'm a dad myself. And then you know that's just me in a nutshell.
You
And I
want to
love
talk
good and,
about?
and I love good comedy. That's one
Yep.
thing that's very underappreciated is good comedy. And I love the greats like George Carlin, Robin
Mhm.
Williams, Rick Dukeman, Bob Nelson. I
Yep.
mean, most people know that Andrew Dice Clay. That
Right.
is that is somebody that is like right there. But yeah, a lot of those guys go do my chores. You see, I gotta do my chores from the sun. But yes, I'm pretty much a homebody.
Now, you want to talk about a lifestyle that clashes with professional wrestling. You're a homebody, and professional wrestling keeps you on the road. It, is there, because of that, has there been moments in your career that you've completely questioned the direction that you've gone in professional wrestling? Because again, you're on the road a lot. It takes you away from your family.
It really does. And so like early on in my career when I was in my 20s, wrestling for NWA Anarchy and NWA Wildside, like it was every other weekend. And so the weekends that we would be able to have, during that time, like I mean, we pick up the extra bookings. So for a guy in his 20s to try and have like a social life, during that time, very, very hard. Because like if say you're getting ready to ask somebody out on a date, well let's go out this weekend. Oh, I can't, I got a show this weekend. Well, how about next weekend? Oh, I'm booked up, I'm sorry. So I mean, your social calendar like really got taken away. But it was for the love of the business. It was
Right.
for the love of the game. And uh and not only that, but then like you get your first opportunity with the WWE, you get your first opportunity with TNA, you get your first opportunity to go overseas. And so a lot of those opportunities happened. But at the same time, I wouldn't have met the people that I met if I didn't make those sacrifices, and
Right.
if I didn't make those opportunities come true. And for Wild Side and Anarchy, it was thanks to Bill Behrens
Mhm.
for my first time going to WWE. Him and Todd Sexton, great minds for the business for both NWA Anarchy and NWA Wildside, which is now Southern Fried.
Yep.
Guys like UCW and Ron Gossett,
Mhm.
they gave me a tremendous opportunity from early on in my career, where I started wrestling for them in like 2004
Three.
ish,
Yep.
something, 2003,
I think it
2004.
2003. Yeah. Yep. Ron
Yeah. And
actually contacted me and he was like, man, ask him about UCW in his younger years because
yeah,
you have something, you're doing the hometown throwdown coming up, right?
yeah, I am doing the hometown throwdown Friday, May 15th, Anderson, South Carolina. And I don't know who's getting ready to be led to slaughter, but whoever it is, they're going to find out, because I got a chain for them and I got a Russian sickle waiting. And I may pull out some more moves as soon as I get back from Vegas. So you never know.
How was it in UCW working with Ron?
Early on, man, the very first show, the one thing I can tell you about it is he ran the old school Anderson Civic Center, which
Mhm.
the Anderson Civic Center they used to run WCW Saturday nights out of. It was television tapings and whatnot. But most people, when they run their first show, like you would think, okay, if I can get like maybe a couple of hundred, I'll be happy. Ron was the type of guy, he saw a vision going into that. And I remember meeting him. Like I remember wrestling with him on some shows early on where I was trained by Brody Chase, and Brody would run weekly shows at that time. But once Ron decided he was going to run, he had like said, "Hey, we met up at I think it was a St. Patrick's Grill, which it was like an old like burger joint." And so we went in, we started talking, and after that, he was like, "I'd like for you to come in, and I'd like for you to work for me." And I was like, "It sounds great." And this was literally right after WCW closed. And he said, "I'm running the Anderson Civic Center." I was like, That's big time stuff." Had a sponsor with Budweiser, and so it was great. We didn't think the boys in the back, we didn't think it was going to be as big as it was. We were thinking, okay, he's probably going to have like maybe at most 600 people. He sold it out with
Mhm.
3,000 people. And when we saw that crowd, we were like, what in the world's going on? I wrestled Johnny Swinger that night. And
Wow.
so for that was like I was like, wow. And not to mention it was in an old WCW ring. The ones that they
Right.
had that like once the company went down, it was in an old WCW ring. I'll never forget it. And so once that was going on, everything was great.
Yeah, and Ronnie says Russian Sickle, Ronnie Gossett, love you, brother. Nothing but love to you, man. Good, great, great, great guy. I can't say enough good things. I want to talk about you mentioned Nikita Koloff and his faith earlier. And I want to talk about that a little bit. Being a professional wrestler, man, have you ever felt tested spiritually because of something in the business that you're like, oh man, like I know I'm supposed to do this, but and how do you deal with that?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I've never been one to not do something a promoter's asked me to do.
Mhm.
However, I've been one to speak up if I don't feel something is right or makes sense. So I've never really had an issue with it. Now, in terms of testing my faith, I
Mhm.
can honestly say nobody has done that. You know, in my career, nobody has ever done that to where if it's like, you know, like for example, like if somebody is saying like, the devil's gonna bring you down, like nobody has done that. And so I've been very fortunate for that because I think that would be a tough one for me to be able to do, even if it's like, well, this means you get this and this and this. Man, I think that would be a tough one to do.
How does Neil Koloff define purpose?
How does Neil Koloff define purpose? Ooh, I you got him right there. No, 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 buddy. I'm on the call right now. But why? Because this is I'm talking to the people right here. Hey, buddy, how do you define purpose? By doing this. Okay. Man, I'll tell you, I guess define how I would define purpose. Hang on just one second, buddy. I guess how I would define um, purpose is based upon my faith because throughout time, like, a few years ago, I went through a little period of time where like I felt I was done with wrestling. I felt I was. And there was a certain situation that happened that no need to comment on it because it doesn't really matter because the parties that were involved, they know exactly what happened. They know what was going on. And since then, things have been, cleared up, which has exonerated me. Not to say I committed a crime or anything, because I
Right.
never did. But been exonerated from a lot of things. It didn't help me in that time because of the fact that I was representing not just myself. I not only was representing my family, but I was also representing the Koloff name. And when I was representing the Koloff name, like it really hurt me and it really did some damage to me. But I knew my purpose right then. And one of the very few people that stuck by my side, believe it or not, was Nikita.
Mhm.
And during that time, I knew I needed to find my purpose.
Right.
What was my purpose? What was my real purpose for wanting to continue in this business, wanting to continue, in this crazy, wacky sport? of ours. And notice I said sport.
Right.
It is a business, but it is also a sport, regardless of what people like to
Yep.
think or say, whatnot. But it was one of those deals that I knew I needed to have a good relationship with the man upstairs. I
Mm.
needed to have that. And I needed to get that right. Because even though I've always had a lot of faith in God, I knew I needed to get that right. And once I got that right, and once I needed and knew that that was right, now let's go. Now let's go, because now with that man by my side, there's nothing. I like it best, like especially when Cat Williams was calling everyone out. You remember
Mm-hmm.
that time on
Yep.
Shannon Sharp's show,
Yep.
when he was calling everybody out. When he was calling everybody out, one of the things I liked in that was a comment that he said, "There's God's side and there's the other side." And I loved that so much. And that comment right there really really helped me out in the time, um, during a period of time in which I needed it.
Right. Right. What part of professional wrestling fulfills you the most?
The roar of the crowd, to be able to get in that ring and to be able to apply my craft to everything that I have worked hard for. And not only that, but to be able to give the fans exactly what they've wanted, what they pay their hard-earned money to see, and what they ask for. There you go, buddy. So, so if I was to sum it up all in one, it is the overall total experience of just being out there. Because yeah, I equate it to what a lot of people like to say is, those that are addicted to, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever. you know Most guys that are in the wrestling business, they always say there's no greater drug or no greater high in the world than walking out there in front of thousands of people. They're all on you, that spotlight is on you, and you're performing for them, and that roar of the crowd. And there's no greater feeling than that in the world. And that's something that even walking out there as a Koloff in the wardrobe that I come out with, the second that I walk out there and I feel the booze because I'm the foreigner, you know, uh, it's it's amazing. It's amazing to me, because all I have to do is just look at one person, and that's all I need. I just need one.
Mm.
That's it. Have them believe, and I'll have that whole place come unglued.
Ronnie Goss said, "Those who never been through anything don't get it. I do, and you are a great guy. Look at you now. We have both rose from the ashes. Thank God."
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because there's been some dark times for me. Now, I've been very fortunate. I never resulted to any bad behaviors. I've
Mm.
been very, very fortunate, because that's just something that's never been, a part of me as a person. Those that know me, they know, like, the only thing I would do is just have a couple of drinks here and there.
Right.
But even then, it's like I've never done drugs. I've never smoked pot. I've never done any of that stuff. It's just, I've been around people that have had those vices, and it's not fun to watch. And even then,
Right.
it's like that don't look fun.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's just one of those things. I don't disrespect anybody, and I
Right.
hope that people out there that are looking for help, I hope that they do get the help that they
Mhm.
need. And I pray to God for those people every day. And it's just one of those things where, as a father, I look at my son and I'm just like, man, I need to be the best example I can
Right.
set for him.
Yeah. Get it. 100%, my man. What is, we were talking about Nikita Koloff earlier. What is one storyline that Neal Koloff relates to more that Nikita Koloff was involved in?
The best of seven series
Mhm.
with Magnum. That's it. The best of seven series, um, because you have the dirty, nasty, foreign menace against the blue collar American hero.
Mhm.
Like, who's going to come out on top? Who's going to come out on top? This is Russia's best, and this is the blue collar man who's going to fight for America. How
Yeah.
better can you get
Right.
than that? How
Right.
better?
How do you separate the hatred from fans, guy from Russia, versus who the real man is behind Neal Koloff?
I it's one of those things that at the end of the night, if I'm going to my car and let's say I see, somebody that's out there and I give them a look and they're just, and maybe I give a little wave to where I can still keep keep my character intact, but at the same time send a thank you.
Right.
And I'll tell you, funny story. So there was Alexander Koloff, who I was teaming
Mhm.
up with before, who he had to retire due to injuries
True.
from
Yep.
the business, and we were teaming up in Barnesville, Georgia. I'll never forget this. We were going to hang one of the baby faces with the chain. Just put him over the top
Right.
rope, and he was bleeding from the mouth, and so and he was okay. Afterwards he was okay, but we we started. All of a sudden, here come the babies. They come out, and next thing you know, while we're out there, this family of I want to say it was about 15. They start coming out of the crowd. Now, mind you, this is a gym that they're in, like a high school gym, or it's actually a community center, but
Mhm.
they had big bleachers in there, and so this family of 15 comes out, and you can tell they just came out of the farm. And no offense to farmers, but once they started to come out, like I have my chain is literally like a 13 foot. It's a
Mhm.
13-foot chain. And I had it with me as myself and Alexander are walking to the back. I looked over and they're starting to follow us as we're going to the locker room. And then when that happened, like I look at one of them and then I said, "What you gonna do?" And he reached in his pocket. And I was like, "What you gonna do? What you gonna do?" And then all of a sudden he pulls out and I see the handle of the
Mhm.
knife. So he had a knife. Now, my first comment back to him was I said, "If that comes out of your pocket, I'm gonna break your blanket arm." And I had the chain, I'm ready.
Right.
Alexander got more upset than I did. And he had a chain. He started going a little emo on it. And so he was like, "Rah," just because he saw it too.
Right.
The promoter who comes in to try and calm things down, he is literally looking at us as he's breaking it up and he's going, "Thank you." Thank you. And as we're going to the back, like the family's
Mhm.
coming forward, and I'm swinging that chain. I do not care. I am swinging it. We get to the back. Myself and Alexander were, yeah, we're just, yeah, we did it. Security comes up and they goes, "You want us to get that SOB out of here for doing that?" And we were like, "No, no. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, go give him and his family tickets to the next show and tell them to bring other people."
Wow.
And they looked at us and they were like, "What? What? What? You could be killed." And it's like, "No, we're not going to be killed.
Right.
We'll be killed." But just tell them like that's a gift from the Koloffs.
Right.
And so, sure enough, that next show, like those people came back and they brought like 20 more. So that was a true
That's
treat for
awesome.
us. So I could separate them pretty
Right.
good.
That's awesome. As great as the Koloffs were in the original era of the Koloffs, there's no such thing as perfect. What has Neal Koloff done or learned from the original Koloff era that maybe you have taken to make better for today's Koloff family?
All the styles are unique. One of the things that I've also learned is never take anything for granted. If anything is ever, come in, so like in NWA Anarchy, we we had national television, and not only that, but we had uh, it was up. Our television reached. It was all over the country. We were syndicated, but it was also up in Canada and it was over in Europe. We had the rights as NWA per Bill Barron's to have the world television title, and I was very fortunate to hold that title twice within my career. So to be able to have that, when I look back on it, like when it was happening then, I didn't realize the legacy of that championship. I didn't realize it because I was like, "You keep moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing." I didn't stop and really realize the importance of that championship.
Mm.
And not only that, but the legacy of that championship, because who was one of the guys that held it? It was Nikita.
Yeah.
And so for him to be able to hold that title, and then now that I'm looking back later on in my career, and I'm like, man, I held that title twice. It's just like now I can stop. Now I can realize it, and I can go back and I can watch past matches of me defending that title. Which one of the guys that I defended it against and lost to was a guy named Hayden Young, who
Okay.
now he is about to be married to Lillian Garcia.
Oh,
uh,
wow.
that's her fiance. So, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're getting married this month.
Yep,
I'm not
for
sure,
sure.
but yeah, that he was one of the ones I dropped the championship to. As a matter of fact, it was my last. I think it was my last
Mm.
world television title that I won, and I dropped it to him. And so, I never had a chance to really look back and really absorb it,
Right.
if that makes
Yep.
sense. I've
Yep.
never had the chance to absorb. And this one guy right here, Wilson, asking about the
Yep.
psychology. um I mean, the only thing that you could really look at is look at how great the four horsemen were. Say that three times fast. And
Right.
uh and Dusty, Nikita, and the Road Warriors. I mean, the psychology of it is good and evil. You know, you have the guys who are fighting. You have the guys who are trying to sell, you know, women, sex, all that stuff, and then you got the baby faces who are for good. But you
Right.
have two bad guys that are with them. You know what I mean? And the
Right.
Road
Yep.
Warriors. And so the psychology with that is like, I like to put my psychology in my matches like this. If if it makes sense to do it out there, then it can be done in here.
Mm.
I don't like the fact of here in just a second, buddy. Um, I don't like the fact of somebody that is, say, their role model was Brock Lesnar. Let's say,
Mm.
hypothetically speaking, their role model was Brock Lesnar, and they are 5'11" and weigh 185 pounds. And yet here I am right at 6 foot and weigh 235. And you're going to give me an F5?
Right.
Not happening today, brother.
Right.
So my psychology with it is I like to keep it simple but
Mm.
intense.
Right.
And I like to incorporate some of my past with some of my future. And when you see Neal Koloff coming forward now, whether it be in Las Vegas this week or whether it be at Hometown Throwdown, or whether it be at Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling in Fairview Heights, Illinois for Herb Simmons and the fan fest that's going on there for the Bruiser Brody Memorial Show.
Which I'll see you there.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Then we'll have a conversation then too.
Absolutely.
And so, but the thing is, when you see that there, you're going to see a whole new cast of, and you're going to see a whole new repertoire of what Neal Koloff can do. Because I can assure you, it's going to be way different than what you've seen before.
Right. Last question. I'm going to let you get going because I know your son and your time is limited, my friend. If you had to describe the Koloff's name in 3 words, what are they?
In 3 words. Faithful, honorable, and respectful.
Neal, I appreciate your time. Look, I would love for you to come back on because we haven't even begin to touch. I have so much to talk to you about, my friend. Before you go, tell people where they can find the Koloffs.
Yeah, definitely. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/Neal Koloff, on Instagram at Neal Koloff. We're going to be in Las Vegas this week for WrestleCon. May 2nd, we're going to be at the New England Fan Fest right up there near Boston. May 8th, 9th, mostly May 9th, we're going to be at Herb Simmons Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling Fan Fest. The Bruiser Brody Memorial Show, and we'll be up there signing autographs. May 15th, I'm going to be at the Hometown Throwdown for UCW, Universal Championship Wrestling, Anderson, South Carolina. Oh, man, there's a lot more, and I can't even cover it all right now.
That's good enough, my friend.
But that's within the next few months right here.
Absolutely. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast. Neal, thank you so much. Please go enjoy your time with your little one because, again, like I said before we went on air, they grow so fast, man. Enjoy the time with them. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing the Koloffs May 8th and 9th. Guys, you get tickets. SICW.org. That is SICW.org to get tickets to FanFest 4. So many that just be there. Until then, you guys have a great week. Neal, thank you so much again, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Shut all it down.